Okay, today we're going to start on Kuf Mem Hey. Kuf Mem Hey, Amid Aleph. 4 lines from the top. Thank Hashem that we're able to learn Torah every day. Especially for learning, we should have this immediately. Learning the Nishma, Savag al the Basra Daf and San Sabin Tzion. Also, our first name of Rabbi David Ben Sarah. That gets a little yes been paid. Okay, so it starts like this. Lema, let us say, Tanuli Baile Vesmachi Mitanaihi. The Gemara mentioned before that it's possible that this was, we got into this because we're talking about Shishbinin. And Shishbinin are these people that come and celebrate with the Chassan. The groomsmen, they celebrate with him. And if one person celebrates with his friend, then the friend is obligated to go and celebrate with to reciprocate. And it can actually be collected in Besdin. So one of the things that we mentioned was what happens if the person dies. If the person that had received already dies, another person wants to reciprocate. So we're talking about if it goes to the estate. So he said, why should it go to the estate? Said, bring the fellow here and I'll rejoice with him. You don't have him, so I'm not paying anything at all, right? And we said that that's comparable to a woman that received kedushin and the husband died, so the marriage was never consummated. So they're saying, give us back the kedushin. So she says, no way, I'm not giving it back. Bring me the husband, bring me my husband, and I'll marry him. It's not my fault, right? The opposite would be understandable. If the wife passed away, so the husband would say, "Give me back the money. I wanted to marry her." There was never any marriage yet. It was just a betrothal. But over here, she can say that I'm ready to get married. Right? Okay. So now the Gemara suggests that Lema Tinuli Baili, give me my husband, Vesmachi, and I will rejoice with him. Tanai, that's a machlekes Tanai. Is she able to say that since it's not my fault and I'm ready to get married, just he disappeared, he died, so I don't have to return anything. Tanya was taught in a brisa. Now the brisa that we quote is going to be a little bit confusing because it's going to be we're not going to understand the machlekes. The Gemara is going to try to resolve the machlekes by saying that resolve the two opinions by saying that it's a machlekes about give me my husband and I will rejoice with him. Is she able to say that? And then we'll see the Gemara will reject it. Okay. Tanya was taught in a brisa. Amari says to Isha, if someone marries a woman, I should say clearly, betroths a woman. Basula, woman is a basula, she's a virgin, gave him a sayim. Then, if the husband divorces her or he dies, then she collects 200 zuz, right? That's a ksuba for a basula. Well, mana, if she's a widow, mana, then she collects 100 zuz. Makim shenagu lahachzir kedushin, machzirin. If the custom in that place is to return the kedushin money, then she returns it. Now you have to add in over here that this was never a marriage. This was just a kedushin. It was only the betrothal. So usually a ksuba this has to be stipulated very clearly that he's obligating himself in a ksuba even from the erisin. This wasn't automatic. From the nesuin there was an automatic ksuba. From the erisin it wasn't automatic. It had to be written or specified that that's how it's happening. Well, what about the kedushin money? He's getting rid of her or dying before the wedding. So it says if the custom is to return the kedushin money, let's say it was a ring, so then machzirin, you have to return it. Makim shenagu shalei lahachzir kedushin ein machzirin. The custom is to not return the ring, then you don't return it. Different Reb Nassim. That's the opinion of Reb Nassim. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi Yomer, Rabbi Yehuda the Prince. This is the author of the Mishnah, so we're quoting a Brisa here. So it doesn't say Rabbi or Vani Yomer or something. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi says, Be'emes Amru, in truth they said, Makam Shenagol Lahachser Machzirin. If the custom is to return the ring, you return the ring. Makam Shenagol Shlei Lahachser. The custom is not to return the ring. Ein Machzirin, you don't return the ring. Well, the Gemara says, Rabbi Yehuda Nasi, Hainu Tanakama. Rabbi Yehuda Nasi is the same opinion as Reb Nassim. It's the first opinion. If the custom is to return it, you return it. If the custom is not to return it, you don't return. What's the machlekes? Why do we have two opinions here if they're both saying the same thing? Elalav, rather it must be Tinuli Baili Vesmachim Yakabinayu. That there's a machlekes over here regarding if the woman can say, "Give me my husband, and I'll rejoice with him." In other words, she doesn't have to return the ring. She's able to say, "I'm ready to get married. I don't know what happened to him, but I'm ready to get married. I don't have to return anything. Nothing's my fault here." Now with the Bryce is obviously missing words, and we have to read it the following. Okay, how does it go? Yeah.
We're still separate.
Yeah. Reb Naftali, do you know when they join together the Kiddushin and the Nisuin at the same when we started to do it together on the same day? When did that happen?
I don't know that.
I wonder. That's like an interesting historical little piece.
Yeah.
Like who switched it?
Wow.
We always used to have a year in between, and then we switched it somewhere in history, and I'm not sure.
I think by the time the Shulchan Aruch was written, that was already in place.
Yeah, I'm assuming it was well before that. I'm assuming it was already in the days of the Gaonim.
Yeah.
Maybe it has to do with because in Yehuda they would live with their betrothed in their father-in-law's house, and they didn't like that. So maybe even the sages switched it. Is that possible? Remember that the Yehuda they were Bayal Arusasai the Beis Chamav or something. They would when the husband would come to visit his wife and the father-in-law's in her father's house, they were already living together, not according to the halacha. They were just like misbehaving. So maybe they switched it because of that. Okay, whatever the case is, Hillel, you're sparking interesting discussion there. Elalav, it must be it's then we have to read it like this. If someone betroths a woman, Basula, if she's a virgin, good Masayim, then for her ksuba she collects 200. Valmana, if she's a widow, mana, then she collects 100. We're talking about 100 zuz, 100 dinar, right? Same thing. When do we say that she's going to collect the hadar be'ihu? If he divorced her, hadar means he retract, and ihu is him. If he retracts, it means he wants out. He decides that's it. I'm not marrying you. So then he has to give her a ksuba. Aval Mesa, but if she dies, if the custom is to return the kedushin, the ring, then you return it. If the custom is not to return the ring, then you don't return it. But this is only if she dies. Aval Mesu, but if he dies, then she doesn't return the ring if he dies. This was only if he divorced her, where we have this discussion. But if he dies, then my time. Oh, what's the reason? She could always say, "It's not my fault. To me, my husband. I'll rejoice with him. I'm not backing out of this agreement." We just made up a whole thing in this price, so that was totally not here before. We just made up that there was this that the discussion about almana or a basula, that's regarding if he divorced her. And then we added in that if she dies, then this depends on the custom. But if he dies, then it's not dependent on the custom. She can always say, I'm not returning it. Basra Rabbi Yehuda Nasi Lameima. Rabbi Yehuda comes to say, Bamasamru, in truth they said, Bein Mesahi. Whether he dies or whether she dies, doesn't matter. Makum Shnaga Lahachsir, Machsir, Makum Shnaga Shlei Lahachsir, Machsir. And Blematzi Amra, Tinuli Baileves Machimai. Doesn't matter, she always returns the Kedushin money, the ring, if that's the custom. And she can't claim, I'm not returning it because it's not my fault, bring me the husband and I'll rejoice. So we made up this machlaikas because we didn't know how to explain the machlaikas in the brisa. So now what we're holding right now is, we said lema tinuli baile v'asmachimai is a machlaikas tanaim. That phrase, bring me my husband and I will rejoice with him, is a machlaikas tanaim. According to the Reb Nassan, you can say that. According to Rabbi Danasi, you can't say that. Now, when the Gemara does these things, I'm always wondering, maybe you could have said exactly the opposite. Maybe Reb Nassan says that you can't say Tinuli by Levesmachim, and Rabbi Yehuda says you can, yes, say it. And I'm like, how do you know? Like, who says what? The whole thing is a chsuri mechsra, right? It's all missing words. You can throw in. Okay. Anyway, the Gemara says, loy. No, that's not the machlekes over here. The kuli alma, everyone agrees, Yechela Shetaimar, that the woman can say, Tinuli Baileves Machimai. Bring me my husband, I'll rejoice with him, and therefore I don't have to return the ring. With the misu kuli alma pligi. If the husband dies, everyone agrees that she keeps the ring. Right? Ki pligi, when is there a machlekes? Shemesa he, if she dies. And the discussion is it's an interesting expression. The question is, the machlekes is, do we say that kedushin gets sunk? Does it get lost, even though it doesn't reach the marriage, even though it never is consummated? Is it a concept on its own, or is it just a prerequisite for what's coming? And if it never is able to be if it never worked out, then he should get the money back. So it goes like this. Reb Nassan holds kedushin lav l'tivuin nintu. Kedushin is not supposed to be sunk. It's not lost. If it works into a marriage, then the kedushin is good. Then she keeps the ring. If it doesn't end up in marriage, then you give it back. Rabbi Danasi savar kedushin l'tivuin nintu. Rabbi Danasi says no. It's lost. You give the ring, and that's the whole thing on its own. You gave the ring. Even though she dies, that's it. That's ends up with her family.
Nowadays, because there is do both the kedushin together.
Yeah, this
like
would be
custom,
significant nowadays.
Some people do give the ring. Well, it's not necessarily.
No, they don't. We don't give an engagement ring, do we? Well,
No,
at the wedding maybe we would give
the
something.
wedding, but
yeah.
The point the ring is the wedding. They don't give a ring. Like just well, there's
Yeah, but this is a betrothal.
yeah, there's
This
two
is not
kinds
just
of ring.
this is not just an engagement. It's for the wedding.
Some
Right.
people have like the women have like two sets, like a wedding ring and another ring with a stone. That's the
Yeah, exactly. So Hill is asking, why should anyone just want Arison? Right? The idea is to live together, right? So why would he want this? I don't know. We're asking on Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Why does Rabbi Yehuda Nasi say that there's a concept that he would give a ring, even though it never gets, they never end up with Nisuin?
Well,
he feels secure. He feels confident. He has a wife that they didn't have the wedding yet, but he has a wife that's waiting for him. She's writing him letters.
If someone goes and sees the house,
like the house, they would deposit it with the intention of buying it, renting it, something.
Right.
But do they get the deposit back? It's not sold to them?
You're in what is it called? Under contract. Okay. The problem is, how could you say that Rabbi Nasi holds this? But it says that if the custom is to return it, then you return it. You're telling me that you don't return it because it's what's the expression? Litivuin, that it was sunk. And now you're telling me that you return it if that's the custom. No, 1 second. Hachi kamar. You're mixing things up, the Gemara is saying. The savlainis, when it comes to the gifts, that was referring to gifts. If he buys her gifts, that's dependent on custom. But the kedushin itself, that you lost. That's something else. This is probably the most practical Gemara we had. These things, I know a lot of Dinei Torah that had to do with broken engagements. Yeah. So, okay, but you lose the kedushin is going to be lost. It's only the gifts that get returned if that's the custom. And these the tanoim that are arguing about kedushin l'tivun, follows also another machlekes tanoim. The Tanya was taught in a brisa. Kitcha b'kikar. A man marries a woman and he gives her a very large kedushin. Gives her a ring. He got the what's the thing in England? The crown jewels. It's a very fancy ring. It's 25 mana. 25 mana. The kikar is a mana is 100 zuz. We assume that like 200 zuz is like enough to live off for a year, for cheaply, of course. But what can someone live in America for a year? Someone like a single person in America, can you live off 40,000? Yeah. Anyway, so this is 12 and a half times that. So it's a large ring. It's a large kedushin. So Basula gave a Messiah. Okay, if it's something happens over here, divorced, death, so the Basula is going to get 200 zuz. Almana mana, divrei meya, and then Almana is going to get a mana. The Gemara is going to explain what's going on in this. Divrei meya, that's the opinion of Meya. Rabbi Yehuda says Basula gave a Messiah. Basula collects 200, Almana mana, and Almana gets a mana. But she has to return the rest of the 25 mana. She's only getting her ksuba. But the ring has got to go back. Rabbi Yossi says, Kitsha be'esrim. If he married her with esrim we're really dropping down here. Esrim is 20 shkalim. Now, every shekel is 4 dinar, or 4 zuz. A ksuba for a basula is 200 zuz. So if he married her with 20 shkalim, that's really 80 zuz. It's not a full ksuba. He gave her a ring, whatever. The ksuba said there's a large amount of money that gets if it doesn't work out. But this was just a betrothal ring. Noisin la shleishim chatzayim. Get divorced, he's going to need to give her shleishim chatzayim, 30 half shkalim, which would be 60 dinar. How does that play into anything over here? The wedding ring was 80. Now he has to give her 60. What does that add up to? It doesn't like what's right? Like how do you get that okay, Kitcha, the Gemara is going to explain. Kitcha b'shleishim, if he marries her with 30, what would that be? 30 shkalim. How many dinars would that be? 120, right? Because each one is 4. So 30 times 4 is 120. Nice and esrim chatzam, you have to give her 20 half. What's 20 half shkalim? 40. Marries her for 120. Then at the divorce, he has to give her 40. What's going on over here, right? But my yaskina, what are we talking about? Are we talking about that she died? What? The wife dies, you give her a ksuba? She doesn't get a ksuba if she dies. El Shemesu must be that he died. He died. Why is she returning anything? Neima, we should say, Tinuli I'm ready for the wedding. I'm not returning anything. Right? So bring me my husband and I'll rejoice with him. Elevation Yisrael. It must be that we're talking about a woman that committed adultery. Ubamai. What happened over here? Ibaratzon, if it was willingly, that's adultery would be willing. Miyaslik ksuba. Does she get a ksuba if that's what she does? She loses the ksuba. She's not faithful. She doesn't get anything. Right? So why are we saying we give her 20, 30, whatever, or she gets 200 or 100? Elabainas. It must be that she was raped. Raped? Mishra Shayla. So why is the marriage ending? She's permissible to her husband if she was raped. Elabashis Kayan Shenensa. It must be that it was the wife of a Kayan that was raped. No, Kayan is not allowed to marry. He's not allowed to stay married. Well, okay, but Kiddushin, Letivu, and Nitnu Kamifligin, the Machlekes over here is regarding if the Kiddushin is lost. The Kiddushin money is lost if the marriage never makes it all the way through. Reb Meir says Kiddushin, Letivu, and Nitnu. He gave her a wedding ring, 25 mana. He's a Kayan, he gives it to her. She's raped. He can't stay married to her. It's not her fault. She keeps the wedding ring. Rabbi Yehuda Sava, Rabbi Yehuda holds, Lav l'tibu nitnu. She can't keep the wedding ring. She has to give it back, but she still gets a ksuba, which is 100 or 200 zuz, depending on what they made up. If she was a virgin at the time of betrothal. Rabbi Yossi misafkalei. Rabbi Yossi has a doubt. He doesn't know if the halacha is like Rabbi Meir or like Rabbi Yossi. Do we say that the money is lost? What we do is like this. If the wedding ring was 80 coins, 20 shkalim, which is 80 coins. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide it in half. What's 80 in half? 40. So he gives her 30 half coins. What's 30 half coins? 60. So she already received 80. The problem is that we don't know if that's supposed to be lost, if that right, or if that has to be returned. So what do we do? So she has to return only half. She returns half of it. So she returns 40. So therefore,
which situation is Gomorrah talking about now? Is this still in the case? There's still the case of the woman married to the Kohen?
Yeah.
Okay.
The woman married to a Kohen. She's raped. They
Right.
now
Okay.
divorcing her. So does he lose the Kedushin money when he divorces her?
Mhm.
Still has to give her a ksuba because she didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
So the problem is, there's a question over here, does the Kedushin money go back? So we say, according to Rabbi Yossi, half goes back. So if we married her with 80, so she returns 40. She keeps 40. What would be her ksuba if she was a almana, she was a widow? It would be 100. So he has to now give her 60. What's 60? 30 half coins. So that's what it says. If they married her for 80, she gets 30 coins because she already returned 40. Now 30 half coins means she gets 60. So 40 and 60 is 100. That's how she gets her ksuba. Kitcha b'shleishim, he married her with 120, right? A large wedding ring. worth 120. It was 30 coins, which means 120 zuz. So nice and la'esrim chatzim. So he gives her 20 coins. Now, what does that mean? He gives her 20 half coins. That means he gives her really 40. Because each coin is worth 4. Half a coin is worth 2. So if he married her with 120, she has to return 60, half of 120. So she's left with 60. How would you get the balance back to 100? So he gives her 40, which means 20 half coin. 40. That's from Chatzar. Okay. So now we have a machlekes. Kedushin is letivu and nitnu, which is the opinion of Rav Meir, where the money gets lost. Or Kedushin has to be returned, the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. And I'm sorry, not Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. And Rabbi Yossi, who has a doubt. Amar Rabbi Yosef, Bar Minyumi, Amar Rav Nachman. Wherever the custom is to return the Kedushin money, you return it. Talking about if the woman dies, right? If the woman dies and the custom is to return the money, then you return it. And V'tirguma, where was this custom? Nardai. In Nardai, Reb Nachman would paskin like for Nardai. So that's where they would return the Kedushin money if the woman passed away. Shar Bavel Mai, what happens in the rest of Bavel? Rabba Rabbi Yosef Damri Tarvayo. Rabba and Rabbi Yosef, they were in Kumpadisa, right? Mayare Hadre. The gifts, the sivlinus, the gifts that are given, those are definitely returned. Kedushe leihadri, but the ring itself, that's not returned. The Rashbam says that there's 2 types of mayare. There's mayare and sivlinus. Sivlinus, what's the difference mayare and sivlinus? Sivlinus are gifts. Mayare is a money gift. And then there's Kedushin. So there's really 3 things here, right? So, but whatever the case is, the gifts are returned and the Kedushin is not. Amar Papa. Papa says, Hilchasa ben shemes hu, ben shemes sehi. In the case of Hadar Behu, whether he dies, or she dies, or he divorces her, Mayare Hadri, the gifts are returned. Kedushin Hadri, but the Kedushin money is not returned. That halacha in Shulchan Aruch. Hadra Be'ihi, let's say she's the one that wants the divorce. She says, I want out. Then Afilu Kedushe Nami Hadri. And even the Kedushin has to be returned because she's the one that's saying, I want out, so she has to return it. That's how she says, I want out. She says, here, take the ring back.
Okay, with the subas.
Can she get a ksuba if she's the one that wants out? If she has the rights to it?
Really, right?
If she has a good claim, she can get a ksuba. Right? Yeah.
For divorce?
Yeah.
I thought only the husband.
The husband wants to divorce?
Yeah.
Yeah, but she can. Yeah, but she can also claim that he's not the husband. If she wants to get divorced. Right?
Yeah, I thought that happened with like the Ben Gershon, where a woman now initiate a divorce.
What happens for Ben Gershon is that the husband cannot divorce his wife against her will. That's what Rabbeinu Gershon is. It used to be that he can throw the get at her. Then Rabbeinu Gershon can't do that. And the 2-wife thing and all that. Ameimar says Kedushin Leihadri. The Kedushin should not be returned. Why not? Because if you return the Kedushin, then it looks like nothing ever happened. And then the husband may say, I'm going to go marry your sister now. Oh. And you're not allowed to marry your wife's sister. ex-wife.
Not even a wife.
Well, you're allowed to marry. If she passed away, you're allowed to marry your sister, but not while she's alive.
So you have to engineer something.
So therefore, we have a concern. If she gives the ring back, people may say that, yeah, it wasn't really anything. That could create a problem. Ravashi says, what are you worried about? She has to get a get. So there's a get over there. Everyone knows there's a get, and you can't marry the sister. There's a get. Ravashi bedusahi. The statement of Ravashi is incorrect. It has to be taken outside. Why? Could be that some people heard about the kedushin being returned and they didn't hear about the get, and what's gonna happen? But the husband knows that he gave the get. Why would this be a problem? Ika sounds like some people in the world. Shama Baha, they heard about the kedushin was returned and they didn't hear about the, and then what? The husband himself knows. Only problem is on him. Let me see what the commentary say. Kumar comments in the statement of Rashi is a mistake, since there are those who heard about this, the return of the betrothal money, but did not hear about that bill of divorce, and therefore yeah, and that I understand. I'm just trying to figure out what the concern is. If the husband definitely knows that he gave a get, what do we care what other people are thinking? It's only the husband that's not allowed to marry the sister. Does she have any limitations on who she can marry in his family? Oh yeah, maybe maybe it would work the other way. Maybe maybe the brother, maybe it would work the other way, and we're thinking that maybe she doesn't know. She would know she had a get. Okay, I don't know. Let's see the next command. We said that Shishvinis, which is the groomsmen that celebrate, in order this reciprocal gifts and celebration, that could be collected in court. If one person celebrated with his friend and gave him gifts, then when it comes time for that person to get married, the recipient has to go and pay it back. Was started in a There's 5 halachas that are said about these gifts. Number 1, nigvus v'bezdin, such a strong commitment that it could be collected in court. It's only collected at the time when this person actually gets married, not before that. You can't say, give it back, give it back to me. He said, no, when you get married, I'm going to give it back. There's no claim over here. And if the person came and he gave cheap gifts, he got them in the dollar store, right? Another person or whatever, where they get bought it in Marshalls, and he comes back, he wants to give him gifts from the fancy stores. That's not considered ribbis. It wasn't that you give me this, I give you that. It's all celebration. So,
dates at Aldi's and dates at Whole Foods.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. And it's the same company, right? Because it's the experience of shopping. Right? And Shemitah doesn't take it off. Can't say that I owed you money, but Shemitah came and now it falls off. The reason for that is that because we'll see in a minute. If the case would be where it's not getting paid back to the person, it's getting paid back to the estate. but we had some cases before like that. So the firstborn doesn't get a double portion of that shishvinas. Yeah. Okay.
That's a case where the person who gave you has died, so you owe his estate money. Is that is?
Yeah, but we said it was only in a very specific case where the celebration they already did. In others, the reciprocated with celebrating, but didn't give the gifts yet. And these gifts he owes, and then the chassan dies, and we go to that state. Yeah. If he was reciprocating because of the father had sent him, right? That's how it would work. Well, Nigvis bebezdin, my time why is it collected in court? Kamil Vadamya, because it's like a loan. Vein Mishum Ribis, the Rashbam adds in also, and it's only collected at its time. Why? Because it's like a loan. He adds in a little thing over there, but we don't have it in our Gemara. Vein Mishum Ribis, why doesn't it have Ribis? Because he didn't give in a way that if you're going to give me less, it's not going to be good, and all of that. He gave because you give gifts. That's right. You don't keep that into some part of the calculation. Shalachmanis. Kids look at their shalachmanis. Like I gave them this, they gave me that, and this. There's no ribis over there. Why does the Shemitah not absolve it? Like because you can't say layigash that you can't oppress. You can't press for it. And the reason for this is because if someone gives a loan for 10 years, you have to pay me back in 10 years. We don't say that the Shemitah knocks it off. Yeah, someone takes a mortgage, but for 30-year loan, say, well, that's do the principal thing and all of that. But you don't say that it falls off because you gave that amount. The Shemitah would only knock off a loan that was meant to be collected before the 7 years, and it was already due. Then the Shemitah comes, he doesn't collect. But if it was never due, it's only due after the Shemitah, then it doesn't take it up. And here, because it's only due at the time of the wedding, so it doesn't go up. It's like as if it was for 10 years. The Bechar doesn't take a double portion, the Havali Roy, because it's only potential, because it wasn't due yet. And the Bechar doesn't take a double portion of potential money, only what was left at the time of death. Amar of Kana. Kana says, Klol the Shishvinisa. The rules of the Shishvinis are, Habi b'masa. If the fellow that will already received the gifts is now in the city when the other person, when the giver is now getting married, he has to come and reciprocate and celebrate with him. Shama kol tabla, if he hears the sound of the drum, that it's the wedding is taking place, he has to come. Le shama kol tabla. If he didn't hear the sound of the drum, then he's supposed to tell him that I'm getting married, and I want you to come and reciprocate. If he didn't tell him, so he can complain. He said, I celebrated at your party. No, how does this work? He can say that I wanted to celebrate at your party. You celebrated on mine, I wanted to celebrate at yours. So, but nevertheless, he still has to pay, even though he didn't get the invitation. Bad kama. There's a little bit of a discrepancy here, because when the other fellow came to his wedding, he ate there and he gave gifts, right? But he also ate. So the gifts and the eating, it's like, do you eat more than the gifts or whatever? There's eating there. What happens over here? He didn't even make it to the wedding and he just owes the gifts. He would like to subtract the meal, right? Amar Abaya says, no, Gubnei Ganana. People of the parties, they say like this. This is the custom. Ad zuzah, if the gift that you received was a zuz, aisi b'kafe achli b'karse. What you brought in your hand, you ate in your stomach. So that means if the gift was only a zuz, you ate a zuz as well. That's the you basically paid for your own meal. But it's good to be there. It's not like it's not like there's no benefit because you celebrate, you dance and you sing, and it's all part of the festivities and the experience. Adarba, if the person gave a gift of 4 zuz, mishalim palga, then he would eat 2 zuz worth. Why is it when he brought 1 zuz, he only eats a zuz? Guess he feels different when he brings a big gift. Something like that. Yeah. They feed him better. That's what it is. They feed him better. Brought a big gift. They feed him better. Right. Remember that joke with the if your relative go through this door, right? The guy comes to a wedding and says relatives go through this door. So he wasn't a relative, so he went through the other door. Says if you have a gift, go through this door. They didn't have a gift, so he went through the other door. Anyway, he found himself in the parking lot. So anyway, he brings a big gift. They feed him better. So they would feed him up to 2 zuz. From then on, it depends how important he is. That's how they'll feed him. So they'll have to estimate how much less he has to give because he didn't eat at the wedding. If the person says, I'm sorry, if the first wedding that the person came to was in public, it was like a big wedding, right? But he wants to make a backyard wedding. The person can say, no, I'm not celebrating with you at one of those weddings. You want me to travel and to come in and to spend my evening at a backyard wedding. I want to go to a fancy hall. I'm not obligated to do that. I want to, right? I want to have the full experience. If he celebrated with the basula, it's probably a much bigger wedding. And now he's reciprocating. He wants him to come to his almana wedding. I want to celebrate with you with a big wedding with the Virgin. Let's say it was the other way. Let's say he celebrated with the second wedding. And now he wants to celebrate. He's asking him to come celebrate with the first wedding. Now, a second wife, apparently, according to one of the commentaries here, is more celebration for the chassan than the first wedding. And the reason for that is the first wedding he's more nervous. Second wedding, he did this already. Just is free. He's happy. No, the second one he loves. Actually, in Tanakh it says, the first one is the one that you love. That's the stronger one, right? That's what it seems. But right? At least from the pasuk, Eishes Nurim, the young wife.
Regarding the first one.
Oh, you're saying in that pasuk, yeah. Okay. You ask, marry a second wife and I'll come to rejoice with you. I don't know how they would marry 2 women at the same time. He married, he was one wedding, and he wants to come to celebrate with a double wedding. I didn't think you were allowed to do that. I thought you had to give each one 7 days.
Like I do you, and you, like everyone.
Yeah, but shouldn't each one need their own? That's a betrothal.
Yeah.
Shouldn't each one need 7 days of celebration? Anyway, whatever the case is, I want to celebrate in a single wedding, not in a double wedding. Okay. Tanrabanan, in the Brisa. I don't have enough background to what this Brisa is about to say, but we'll translate it. Ater Nechsen. Hill, you wanted to add something?
And notes it has both options. That he wanted to marry like one wife now and then one later, and then the other one married both at the same time, and that's what the friend says like
one at a time. Ater Nechsen, someone that's wealthy. Ater means wealthy in possessions. Ater Pumbi If he's wealthy in public, that means he has a lot of animals, livestock. Zil balagadas. That would be referring to someone that is able to give a speech at every occasion because he knows all the stories and parables. Agada, you can talk to anyone if you have stories. That's the Atir Shlaim, someone that's wealthy in coins, Atir Tekois, which means he's wealthy in houses, he has real estate. Zil bal pilpul, this is someone that can say a pilpul. Why is that a pilpul? It always increases. Every day gets a little bit more. It's sharper. I'm not sure exactly. Ater mashach, he's wealthy in measurements, which means ater kamas, which means that he has grain. It's all hidden in storage. Zeo bal shmus, this is someone that knows statements of the sages. And at the right time, he opens it up. Everyone needs the master of wheat. That's Gemara. I'm sorry. How does that say? Let me see what your Gemara says. Talmud. This is the master of Talmud who understands the reasons behind the rulings and traditions. Okay. Mine says Gemara. This says Talmud. Amar Rab Zeir says, what's the meaning of the pasuk calling me ani rayim? All the days of the poor are wicked or evil. What is it? Terrible. Are terrible. All the days of the poor are terrible. Zebal Gemara. This is someone that studies Gemara. Why is that terrible? Because you have to work so hard to figure it out. But the glad in heart is rejoices always. Zebal Mishnah, this is someone that studies Mishnah. Oh, it's Mishnah so easy. You don't have to work so hard. Rava Amar Ribcha, Rava says it's exactly the opposite. That when it says all the days of the poor are terrible, this is talking about someone that's Mishnah. He doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't understand it. But Tevle Mishnah Tamed, you want to rejoice, the glad heart rejoices always. That's talking about Gemara. Everything he learns, he understands. And behind that, Rav Mashashi, Mishmei Rava, Rav Mashashi says the name of Rava, Maidaksiv, Messiah Avanim Yatsev Behem, someone that moves stones, saddened by them, but someone that chops wood, Yiskanbam is warmed by it. Messiah Avanim Yatsev Behem, someone that chops, moves stones, quarries, is saddened by them. Ela Bali Mishnah, this is someone that deals with Mishnah because he studies Mishnah, he doesn't understand it. But someone that chops wood is warmed by it. Ela Bali Gemara, he has an understanding of it and it's much, he appreciates it. Rab Chanina says, all the days of the poor are terrible. This is someone that has a bad wife. But the glad heart always rejoices. This is someone that has a good wife. All the days of the poor are terrible. This is someone that's picky. He's never happy with anything. Can't eat anything. This is someone that's not picky. And everything, he'll eat everything. He's always happy. It's terrible. This is someone that's compassionate. Everyone he sees, he feels terrible. He's glad. That's someone that's cruel. He never feels bad about anything. Yeah. Right. Rabbi Shua ben Levi says anyone that's all the days of the poor are terrible. This is someone that always gets angry, right? Is a nervous wreck. And the person that's glad, he rejoices always. Someone that doesn't get angry. Let's leave it over here. I don't want to have to rush them. Okay, we're up. Okay. No, we're still a page behind.